glad so many of you decided to come back down from Crowlot to here. You know, lighting's a little bit better and it's a little bit warmer. So I appreciate, how many people were up there? That's pretty good. How many weren't? Okay, so not too bad. So how many of you guys were here 3 weeks ago? Okay, so about a little over half. For those of you who haven't been here before, who were not up at Crowlot, for his second introduction this evening is Mike McIntyre from ASD Stantec. Mike, I heard recently he was in the Boston Globe.
A few times, yeah.
Working on a big project under the bridge along the Charles. So here he is in big-time Brattleboro. So with that being said, he's put together a lot of slides for you to talk about as far as the design goes. We certainly want to have a good give-and-take discussion this evening on how we can improve that site that meets everybody's needs. But before I turn it over to him, just a couple quick housekeeping items. Those of you who need a drink of water, you go down to the end of the center here, take a right where it says clothing sales, and you'll see the water fountain. In addition, there's a men's room and women's room. After that, I think you guys should be pretty much set. I'm not serving dinner tonight. I apologize. I'm not a cook. So, but here's Mike. It's the Mike Show.
All right. How's everyone doing? Great. Just firing up this PowerPoint. One quick second.
Is that better?
What I might do is just move my laptop this way because I did forget my clicker tonight. There we go. Okay, everybody ready to go? Yeah. All right. How many were not here in the last meeting? Wow. I know you did. I wasn't paying attention. I apologize. All right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give about a 5-10 minute quick kind of speed overview of what we went over in the last meeting and the result of those comments from the first meeting. How did this design change and how did all these site contextual issues come about and influence a new configuration for the park? But before I get started tonight, I just want to reiterate that 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to come in and we're going to have a lot more of the refined skate park concepts in 3D modeling, you know, in the animation format, so you can actually see what it's going to look like. I didn't want to come tonight and insult everybody and saying, you know, here's your park. I still feel like we got to have a lot, you know, a little bit more interaction and involvement as we start narrowing down the location, the offsets from the spruce, from the street. How does the playground, you know, tie in? Because this park is really becoming more of an integrated component to the rest of the park. So, yes, November 8th. And so we can meet out at the park again at 5. I don't have a problem. Or we just come here at 6. Okay, so 6 o'clock, and what I'll do is I can bring site photos with me, and then also it'll be reflected in the model. But just to give you a quick recap from the last meeting, I'm Mike McIntyre. I'm the consultant for the skate park. Ironically, I'm also a landscape architect, so I have a little bit of contextual understanding for how this thing works within the park. Like a lot of you, I grew up skateboarding my whole life, more or less on the bigger half-pipe structures in California, including the one on the bottom left, which was in my backyard, one of the biggest ones in California. Also on the design team here in the middle is Canton Russell, who made his pro career in more street skating. So been on the cover of a lot of the skateboard magazines and then been working with me for years designing skate parks. Most of the experience that we have, a lot of parks right now are in the Midwest and East Coast is really starting to catch up with a lot of the West Coast movement for skate parks. This is just a preliminary list of parks that I've worked on personally. 95% are in the public realm, just like yours. So, the experience is not doing plywood ramps inside a warehouse or anything else. It's really dealing with complex environmental situations, whether it's working in, Park City, Utah, or Chelsea Piers and Pier 62. How are you going to build on a pier with structural foam materials, all the way down to, more complex waterfront development projects like the Charles River project in Cambridge, Massachusetts right now. The parks. The park concept from the skate park of being kind of a gray concrete matter has really started to change into a little bit more of an integrated environment. Some parks are more hybrid, plaza, flow, bowls, all the way down to, it's kind of hard to see, but this says World's First Green Skate Park on the cover of the Tony Hawk Foundation newsletter, which was St. Cloud, Minnesota, which has 3 rain gardens to collect water and bioswales for the drainage, where the actual drainage system, as you see in the pictures, start to become the park. Going through there with the utilization of recycled granite materials, steps, and different gaps, even in some of the brick areas where the drainage goes in here for the planters. So everything's a little bit more environmental, and we'll try to incorporate a lot of some of these ideals in the Brattleboro Park. This is more of a hybrid plaza, which has more of your urban elements. When we talked about coming into the entry to the park, there might be more ledges and stairs and gaps and elements that you might find in downtown areas. And then it goes towards the back where there's more of a flow area or bowl area. So these are just showing you examples of other cities that have done public skate parks. This one right here, we can't even legally call it a skate park. This is the new Encinitas skate park in San Diego, home of Tony Hawk, Shaun White, a lot of the pro skaters. And ultimately what came out is they just wanted to do one bowl and then keep all the rest plaza. But this is just called the Gateway Plaza. It's just wheel friendly. You can ride there. You won't get arrested. It's a little bit more integrated with the colors, the seating areas, and the patterns. So you can see some of the sandblasted designs in the ledges, how things work out with the benches and cantilevers. So it's a little bit more tied in and not so much what you might think for a ultimate skate park or skate spot. Just the single bowl. This is a park in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, the one that was funded by the Foundation of Health. Here you can see, looking across the horizon for the park, where you got the planter areas area, and it's a little bit more sculptural, a hybrid flow transition for the skaters. You know what I'm talking about. And it's just, in an empty gravel parking lot that got transformed. Multi-use parks. This one is in Live Oak, Texas, where the actual center of the park turns into a stage at night for performance for musicians. Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where you can see the walkways coming in, where it's a little bit more of a low-profile park, and then it goes more into the flow bowl towards the back. There's some new videos. If for those that are skateboarders, go to Transworld Skateboarding's website. It was posted on the homepage yesterday, so you can check the videos of the park. All the way down to Cincinnati, Ohio, where it's got more of the planters and seat walls and even community gardens. And then you can see in this park, it's kind of got the fitness path that's going around the outside perimeter of the park. So, the concept of a skate park has definitely changed, I think, over the last, 10 years. This is Denver, Colorado, 13,500 square feet. This is an actual shot of it while it's under construction, where all the planters and trees are going. The playground area, you can see the playground, walkways, sport courts. So some of these more wheel-friendly environments are starting to be integrated into more dense, large use parks. This is in downtown Santa Fe, New Mexico, which had to go through the historical art district. Had to go through a historic review. The Arts Commission on the Pantones, the colors in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is 6,000 square feet. This is a new park that's out to bid in Staten Island in New York, which is just nothing in there is higher than 3 feet. It's in an existing park, and they just wanted it integrated with the walkways, with all the gap stairs, rocks, and ledges in there. This is a little bit harder to see, but this is the earlier steps of in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right underneath the freeway there from the Charles River. All right, enough of the past in other cities. I'm going to go into talking about how your park started to transform from the initial idea, the initial configuration. This is the former proposed kind of fitness path. So what we went over today was proposed in an earlier master plan to the town, which I believe you can see kind of the skate plaza and flow zone there. And in the last meeting, what we did is we came with a couple different concepts for the park. This would be 1, 2, and then I'll show them side by side. And what we ran into was concept B was a little bit outside of the limit of work line that the school district was allowing us to work in. Some of the comments we got were, too much landscape, consolidate a little bit more, keep it a little bit more of a rideable park. This was getting a little bit, not enough ledges in the entry here, and get rid of the pump bump in here and change it up. And then most importantly, when we started to lay out the refined concepts, how are you going to get the walkway to go around the entry, around the park, and around the backside? The backside of the park, when this was crammed right up to the creek area, so it was a little bit too tight. So looking at those two concepts, we started to tie in something where this is where we walked today, and you can see there's the kind of the rail fence area. That's where that spruce tree is that we got to stay far away from. This was more of a concept refinement from those last two concepts that fit within the kind of the easement or the parameters that were given by the school district, and with the fitness path kind of going through the trees and kind of connecting through, coming in to create a couple different points of entry, seating area, and create more of a ledge area here with the flat bar here. There's a bank disc right here with a bench coming out, radial bench here coming around the corner. This is a manual pad, grind bench over here. This is kind of a little bit more for seating. And then this has got more of a bank where you can see from the original concept we had a little bit more of a radial aspect. This has banks, hips going to bank to transition with an extension that you can see is 5, and then it goes up to 7-foot extension, and then this goes down to 5, it's about 8-9 foot deep right towards the back end for the bowl here. So there's actually 2 different levels where it waterfalls in with the hip. So this is all radius, transition through here, a little bit more of a kidney hip here. But it's more of an open flow. There are some talks about doing kicker to kicker and fun box areas that come down here that can clack down, send you this way, through here, and then back out. Or you can do back and forth action this way, or pinball to pinball, through here and back up. And then obviously this is all open for discussion for the different elements that went through there. But that was just a concept that fit within the setbacks, the trees, and provided the necessary pathway around the backside. And this is more of the refined concept from the last meeting. Yes?
One thing I know Barry and I were concerned about is just with the bowl area in the back there, are you going to have, I'm just trying to envision like the specs on that, like how tight that will be in terms of skatability. You know, we were talking about that earlier this week, Barry. Like, it'd be better to maybe have one bowl area in the back opposed to a multi-level, multi-tiered bowl area, if it meant that one bowl was more skatable opposed to the tranny being too tight in the back or the corners being, you know. Can you speak to that a little bit in terms of size? I'm just having trouble seeing that fit into the allotted area that we have there.
Yeah, this could be, you know, kind of ridden in two different fashions. You got the transition to transition to transition to transition to whip around to hip. So it could be almost, I don't want to say more snake run style, or you could get, you know, you can be here contained and still ride within here like a bowl. Or if you want to do an enclosed bowl area, we can. We've got plenty of room. This right here goes, this is right here, for example, this is 2, this is like 5, this will be like a 5 foot deep, you know, section, and then it'll waterfall down, and they could go up to 8, and then with the extension like 9 on the back end.
That whole white bowl area right there, is that all just one giant connected flow?
Yeah, yeah, it's more of an open flow bowl. So you're coming from here, and then you can either, you know, stay with. We kept it open, so if you want to stay within the street, or if you want to blast out, if you want to come down here, blast out of the street area into the flow over the hip. So it's more like a hip-to-hip action in there.
And on the left side, leading up to that, opposite from the pyramid, are those quarter pipes?
Yeah, this is these right here are banks.
Okay.
This is bank. It's almost like a jersey barrier up on top. So this is like almost like a 2-block. You know, if you want to you know, wall right up on there and down. Or
do you have it like where you can come in from the street park into the bowl there and like hit the like as their hip, you could hit, you know, like if you got a lot of speed, you could kind of air the hip as you into the bowl.
Yeah, you can go over the whole this whole center section right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Or if you want to fly out here to, you know, to tail on the block and down, you can even, you know, hit it or disaster in. Just launch up, just go clack right in, real quick. So this is a little bit higher, like a little bit of an extension that extends here. So when you're coming in, this is an extension wall. So instead of this being all 5, that comes up an extra 2.5 feet. So it's like an extension wall.
But could you also hit it on the left side if you're coming in?
Yeah, if you're coming in here, yeah, you can just go. You can just. Yeah, over here.
Left.
Right here. You're talking about if you can.
Your left more over toward. Yeah, like kind of over in that area there. Is there like, you know, if you're skating regular, well, I mean, I skate goofy do it too, but I'm just saying that like if for people who skate regular, it's easier to do. Like, is there a hip you can hit there? You know, like kind of coming in.
Coming in, yeah. This was bank, and then it fades into the tranny. So it'd be a little bit harder, obviously going, you know, bank and then pushing it right into the tranny. On the side, if you're regular like me, just like clacking in here, but you know, obviously coming out, ghosting out of the tranny, you could boost big time right up onto the bank.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, or we could pull this block closer here. So if you want to go tranny up to the wall, then down to the bank. But I was trying to get it where, you know, every angle that you landed that you could keep, you know, if you want to clack through here, go here, you can go into the bowl or fly back out. So everything's kind of interconnected. So you don't even have to hit your tail. You can just ghost ride everything, even over the, you know, the center island area. If you want to come down here and just, you know, clack into the bowl, over the hip, whip the corners, fly out here, disaster up on the extension. You know, just kind of have it all.
Because I'm guessing like all the skaters, I think it's safe to say we all agree like you want a park that, you know, has lines. You know, where you can keep busting out line after line, keep the flow going, and don't have to stop and reset. But if you want to, you can continue like you just talked about, you know, hitting different lines.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of different theories. I mean, one thing we could do as a concept is have one with an enclosed bowl, you know, of your preference in there, and have this area all enclosed. But one of the concepts, you know, with the size and it being like this is to have it more, you know, where it's also, you know, open. If you want to stay in there and contain, you can, or if you want to, you know, ride it around like a motorcycle, you know, you can just click from hip to hip, through the floor.
Is that a pyramid to the right there? On the
Yeah,
left?
this is actually right here. This is actually a pyramid, but then it has next to it. It actually has like more of a kicker to kicker, like a rooftop on it.
So there's no bump pump in that design.
No, but we rounded the corners, so if you want to go over the bank and kind of, pump it, we could do it as more like a roller.
No.
Yeah, no, this is all bank. It's all banked. So see, it's pulled away. So it's like a pyramid, and then you got your kicker to kicker. So if you're coming down the bank, you don't have to hit your tail. You can still just kind of, motor over it and still use it for the, the extension. If you want to come over here, hit the extension, clack up over, keep going back. And I kind of did, bank here on this side. So if you want to hit the hubba and you hit the grind rail and hit the stair set, you can, and then just go there and keep going back.
That seems awesome. That's really good.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That dotted, what is that white dotted line to the right of the skating surface? Yeah.
This is our limited work given by the school district.
And my other question was, as these parks have kind of evolved to be more integrated in the environments, and we're talking about words like plaza,
Uh-huh.
and as opposed to a sort of like a skateboard zone.
Uh-huh.
And there's seating in there, and it's an inviting environment.
Mhm.
How does it work, the flow of people entering the park who aren't skaters, but who find this inviting sort of place to sit in the shade? And how does that all get negotiated
Mhm.
on the ground as these parks get more integrated? I mean, I
Mhm.
can understand there have
Yeah.
been, criticism of parks that have a 10-foot high chain link fence around
Sure.
them, and you get a permit to go in there.
Mhm.
And this is a very open concept.
Right.
But when something is open, then you've got multi-uses going on. A
Right.
10-year-old with a scooter, a 6-year-old on a bike,
Mhm.
some high-end skateboarders. How is that negotiated in a social, sort of sociological sense, in your experience around the country as these
Yeah.
parks have become
The-
more multi-use and inviting to whoever wanders by?
This right here being a little bit more of a narrow but very long linear park, a lot of the pedestrian and spectator areas, we're even thinking about having this walkway incline up a little bit and then have it more with some step terraces, so you're close enough to the action but you're not standing in the way of the park. But for those that ride a lot of parks, you'll see that you'll have a lot of kids that just want to ride the ledges, kind of in this area, and then here is where we're pushing traffic this way, out of the way, traffic this way, out of the way, and then keeping a lot of more contained traffic here along the back that rolls here, and then they'll roll back down. And it's kind of like those that ride, everyone kind of knows. I don't want to say not everybody knows what's going on, but the key is to really have good sight lines. Like if I'm going down this street alley from here, past the back of the room, I have a really good peripheral that I don't have anyone coming in and blindsiding me, from the left or right as I come in through this experience, here. If I'm dropping down a level, I'm either going this way or I'm going this way, and this would be a little bit more of a back-to-back action, going back and forth, up and down. And even if you're going down here and clicking over this bank to this bank, to up the extension, to over the fun box, to up the bank, those that are coming this way have a really good peripheral view of what's going on as people come through these lines. And if it would help, I actually have a quick video of that Lake Geneva wheel-friendly plaza that had the plaza in the bowl. If anybody wanted to see what that looked like, if that would help out.
Andy, I've been bringing my 2 young boys to some skate parks in the area, and so they love to skate, but they're obviously less experienced. 4 and 7-year-olds are less experienced than the older boys, and the older kids and adults are very aware of their presence and very accommodating. We've never had a problem where people got frustrated with them. As a parent, and they're being young, I try to say, stick to this area and be mindful. But our social experience in the skate parks this summer has been one of a lot of cooperation and integration.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, one quick second. I'll see if I can pull this up.
Look at that. Oh, nice.
I think one of the hard thing is when you see some of the concepts that we're looking at. A lot of the elements are brought off the success of what makes a skate park work, but they maybe the format is not a standard rectangle, or it doesn't look like you're bowl on one end. Everything just kind of rectangular, street. Okay, I think I'm almost there. Oh shoot, sorry guys. Oh, I gotta log into Vimeo real quick. All right, I'm logged into Vimeo. Can everybody see that? Do you know how to do that on Vimeo?
It's in the bottom right hand
bottom
corner.
right,
of the,
sorry. Oh, there it is, sorry. Okay. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Full screen first and then put.
Yeah. Here we go. So these are, more like manual pads or ledges. So you can see a lot of the ledge, elements are nothing really much, higher than a couple feet. Just different stamp brick patterns.
Skatepark gives our young people a great area to skate and offers a destination for visitors to our community, and also eliminated a problem that we had with people wanting to skate in our downtown area.
Resolution may not be the best, but it kind of gives you an idea of something that's very linear and a little bit more narrow.
We knew it was temporary. I was basically.
This is their old park that they ripped out. It was all modular, above ground wood.
I think we did it so it'll last. I believe that it's on par with any of the better skateboard parks anywhere. First thing I can think of is I love the ground, real smooth, perfect for skateboarding. I love how there's a variety of everything. You got tranny, you got your skate ledges, you got ledges to mess around with. It just has a real good variety. But my personal favorite aspect of this park is the thing behind me right now. That definitely will give the young people an opportunity.
So you can see this kind of back open flow area, people riding through there, and then you can see a lot of the street ledges and elements are, pretty low profile.
I think that's important. And I would just like to say that we appreciated working
That was very animated. Yeah, that would be like a corner pyramid element. This is just a this is just a 5-foot high kind of quarter pipe in the background. There's like your stairs and ledges. Yeah. Yeah, always jump down. Sometimes jump up.
Why would you have stairs if you always just going
Does that kind of help a little bit to show people riding ledges and little flow areas? This one. This is another kind of lower impact plaza.
I'm on location in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, at our newest skate plaza.
This one was just about 10,000 square feet. Yeah, this one right here. Lake Geneva was just a little bit over 10. But there's your stairs and ledges, and this was actually kind of built up in the like a historical area where they actually still even had from the city hall, even had the old prison walls in there. So she is from the Foundation for Health that donated all, you know, $400,000 or $500,000 for this project. I'm sorry? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, this one has fitness paths and workstations. So that was their previous park.
Park means everything. It means not having to worry about getting chased off a spot. It's just a real chill environment. Everyone just
Like the shorts?
dates.
I think secondarily, though, and it may end up being more important, where previously there wasn't something.
That's what it was before, and that's what it is, you know. So you can see kind of the sundial in, and even though it's a plaza, you guys can see some of the transition walls.
This skate plaza is great. It's got a lot of everything for everyone. One of the best ones I've ever skated. My favorite obstacle in the park is the big handrail. It's made amazing. The cement is just super smooth, like the ground is real nice. I like the low to high transition here. Tim did an extremely good job laying it out. There's no dead spots where you run out of speed. I like the colors. It's not the normal boring gray. There's something here for everyone. My favorite obstacle at the park, the flat bar.
And we got one of those. Yeah. The flat bar. Yeah, it's like a just a rail.
The designs work very well, and being a part of a downtown element for us, we have the oranges and the yellow that are part of the Pantone colors for the Rogers Theater, which is an old historic theater in our community. All those kinds of things tie into the skate park, looking like it belongs in our downtown.
This is the first and only to date that we've gotten behind and funded, so this is an experiment for us. It was actually through a program that's called Innovative Funding, so it allowed us as a foundation and a funder that's investing in health projects to take a real risk. And I think what we're seeing today is going to demonstrate to our board that that risk was very well worth taking.
And Brattleboro's next, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Where's that?
Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Just south of St. Louis.
You designed it?
Mm-hmm.
Who built it?
Local contractor worked with us that we oversaw the construction. What's that?
The communication between the design.
Yeah, we oversee the construction. Yeah, this one was built by, we worked like Lake Geneva work with a local contractor. Here we work with a local contractor to do staking layout, rough grade, storm drains, get all the infrastructure in. Yeah. And then also in the specs, we require that any pneumatically placed, shotcrete or concrete is done by someone who's pre-qualified. So, like the last few jobs we did in Wisconsin, California Skateparks came in and did the shotcrete, for some of the banks and ledges. That Lake Geneva, who skates from Maine, did that. They did all the shotcrete. What's that? I was the architect for the project. Yeah, worked on the project with the Hudson River Trust for over 6 years to make that happen. And then it went out, and then it was a local GC that built it, and then California did the shotcrete. All right, so that was another. I'll stop right there on those videos, but hopefully that kind of gave you a good idea to see how some of more of the low impact plazas are used. Yes.
That park was awesome. Like, can you talk a little bit about the concrete you're going to use? I mean, two things. Like the cement. There's not every park has the same type of cement. I mean,
right.
There's that, and I think this park had it. There's that I don't know what the industry term for it is, but there's that super smooth cement that's not pocked at all. It's
right.
just like it's not particularly slippery, but it's super smooth. I wish. It's not like a tennis court. It's
right. What it is, and we have it in the specifications. And what's unique about when your park is under construction, for all the people here that skate, one thing they always do is make sure that they pour swatch samples on site, so work can get rejected if it doesn't match the finish. Like Lake Geneva that you just saw was built by a local general contractor. Poplar Bluff was built by a local contractor. Does the staking layout, the rough grade, the storm drains, and then Who Skates did the shotcrete for Lake Geneva with the local contractor who did the flat work and the ledges, under our supervision. And then some of the Minnesota plazas, like you saw right there, a local contractor did it. And then California Skateparks came in and did the shotcrete. So in our plans, we dictate what specialty, and then what to answer your question, the method and technique is steel trowel flash finish.
Because it's almost got like a sheen to it.
Yeah, where it's not burned. Where for a lot of the flat work, they'll go with a motorized float where there's on like a low to medium speed where it goes a couple passes where you don't want to burn it where it becomes like black. Where you almost have that real reflective concrete, like the Home Depot floor or something where it's too slick. Yeah. You don't want to have that. And then for the shotcrete, it's almost like the washer. It's almost like doing the wax on, wax off to make sure you get that real nice steel trowel flash finish as your final.
And then how does that stuff hold up over many harsh winters? I mean, as you know, we got, and one of the things we liked about you is you have a lot of experience building in climates that are harsh.
What the secret is, if you look at the finish of some parks that have been through those harsh winters, even if they're in a little bit unstable situations where they're built on structural foam like Chelsea Piers or other parks, it's all in the when you're doing the shotcrete, for example. There's how we have in the mixed designs the air entrainment too, because the air entrainment, if you got too much air in there, that's where you start to see those air pox pop up on the concrete. You can't have that. You almost got to fight what the concrete companies tell you to do for the air entrainment, so that when you're troweling it, the bubbles don't come up and you don't get the pox or the honey combing that comes in there.
Degradation over
right.
Say water runs off a certain area,
right.
always runs off in a certain area. So after 2 or 3 years, you have water continually going over and it starts to erode it. Like you skated Mount Baldy before, right? Yeah, so I went out there and skated Baldy, and that pipe is all. I mean, this just gives you an example of like water. Like the
water, exactly.
Part where the little bit of water goes through there, it's like gets rough.
Right.
Baldy, it's all like that's an extreme example of how that can happen because that was never meant to be a skating area anyway. But like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
one of the keys too is to try to get water or when snow melts out of there as fast as you can. Too, so it's not a continuous drip, pour, and a lot of parks that you do see that are rough. In my opinion, even some that in the New England area. I don't want to say any names, but you can definitely see where it has like a little bit of a rougher finish or whatever. The mixed design is the wrong mixed design. Yeah.
Can you say some names?
So you
No.
Yeah.
No.
obviously you do the on-site supervision.
Right.
Of how everything, even though it's a local, you are there to be sure it's all.
Right, right. To get the price down for the so you get the best park, like all those parks you saw right there are under $30 a square foot. When you go design build, they're all over 45, 40 to 50, 50 to $80 a square foot. That's because sometimes when you give one contractor the entire budget, there's no one to compete against. It's kind of like giving the fox the hen house, control the hen house. Where with what you're doing, you're going design, bid, build. So once we get this thing designed, the local contractors, in the area are gonna bid on it, but then they're gonna have to be required to have a specialty contractor who has built X amount of skate parks, has all the qualifications, because we have a pre-qual form in our specifications. So you probably have the same crew. It's gonna be California, grind line, down to, shoot, I can name another, 10 builders that are going to chase after this. And then the local GCs will put those specialty builders on there. So they do all the pneumatically placed concrete, the shotcrete, specialty ledges and forms. But a lot of the general construction, you don't have to have the skate park builder do that, to bring the price down.
Yeah, because that concrete is just so important. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like that concrete actually feels like it hurts less to fall on.
Right.
It's kind of weird. It's like
Right.
it makes it's a subtle but major difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was curious. You were talking. This is a multi-wheel use-friendly area, and I was maybe these are all just misconceptions that I've had with like BMX bikes and the pegs. Are there any things that you can do to prevent damage from the coving or the rails?
Did you see in the beginning of that Lake Geneva? Do you see it's almost like if you took everyone used to do just 2x2 on a straight concrete ledge, but the problem is with the bikes, when you get if you get sprockets or other things that are slamming up against the face, everyone's worried about the top damage. It's put steel plates. A lot of it's on the face. So you see like on those cantilever ledges, they're pulled out away from the ledge, and then all the steel is actually on the face. So it looks like it's a floating granite cap, but it's actually got it. So if bikes come in and slam on, they're not flying up in the air and then bam, ballistic on top. It's this almost like the side slam, and when we say wheel friendly, I think more of the realistic approach is this is a majority. How many are skateboarders here? How many bikers? Is there any bikers in here? Okay, well, this is what everybody knows. This is designed by you guys. This is gonna be your park, but everybody knows bikers are gonna come in. And kids are going to come in, and that's where, for liability reasons and other things, we kind of refer to as a wheel-friendly plaza. And then that way it's like, otherwise, quick, call the cops, arrest this person. He came in on his bike, and all the factions come in. Whether, I don't care what, you can say all the Los Angeles street plazas with, Derek, no bikes. Bikes are riding them. Now what? And you didn't, or if you have something that's not protected, for bikes. Yeah. Yeah, so it's it's an idea that everybody had initially. It more or less came from how the insurance laws were written, where it's like, okay, we're doing a skate park. It's got to be a skate park. You guys know you can't chip golf balls out on that field. You can't play inline hockey on the tennis courts. But if it was a multi-use court, then you can do both. So you got to be very creative. Yes, sir.
You're saying up at the park, they're taking the fence away from it, so there's no fence. What's going to keep the boards that get loose from going out and hitting somebody that's on the walk? Basketballs coming onto the...
Yeah, in this where we have the buffer for we didn't really show a landscape plan in this or any of the curbing, but we'll make sure that when boards go out, there's going to be something to stop them.
And basketballs coming in?
Basketballs, well, we're just going to have to play on the skateboard and. Yeah, there's certain things that may happen, but I think we're pretty far away. I think we need to move that playground a little bit farther away from the basketball court, in the plan. Yes.
So Michael, so the bikes will not hurt the cement.
Yeah, I mean there'll be use and abuse, to the park from everybody using it. But how the ledges and the protective edging is going to be incorporated in it, yeah, will mitigate and offset a lot of the damage that can occur.
It with that in mind.
Right, because they're going to ride it regardless,
Right,
I mean,
that's what I was wondering, because kids want Right, goodbye.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say something else, but then you brought up the playground and the basketball court, so I just want to make one comment. I sort of wish when we were making our walk around the park, we had stopped there for a minute at the existing backstop. Maybe you could get that plan up there.
Let's see if I can.
I just wanted to add to and amplify the concern that people had of the isolated feeling over there behind that huge cedar hedge. Over there, where you're planning the play structure. There.
Right, this was all where we had all.
I wish we had stopped there in the tour tonight, just so people could kind of have a feeling of sight lines and stuff. Because some of us stopped there, and the meeting was sort of, you know, dispersing at that point. But I do think that that's a key. I hope that gets as much discussion, placing that playground with some of the people that have a stake in it. I mean, I think this is a great process to have the, you know, the people using the park be stakeholders. But this is the current large group of stakeholders that are, I think, will be concerned. I think it would be really unfortunate if the backstop ended up down there at the end, and the playground ended up in a place where parents felt it was kind of isolated from view, and then there was acrimony and animosity that just extended into the future.
Sure.
So I think it's really worth putting as much time into that and not make the you know, and I know the plan has been to take care of the playground, but I think that's why some people have said, can the playground be taken care of first, since that's the current use of the park? Okay. So I wasn't going to comment on that, but then you brought up the playground, so I'm just hopping on that. But my other comment was, when some of us have asked about maintenance costs for the park, I don't know if anyone's mentioned to you that Brattleboro has no more money.
Right.
Okay. So, which is why this is private fundraising. But there must be ongoing costs, and I was just curious if you, who have had your hand in parks all over the country, could you give us a ballpark figure of what those many parks we've looked at that are, what is their annual, I mean, they must be sequestering some money annually,
right,
so that in 8 years, when these edges need to be rebuilt, we don't have to go to the town meeting reps and say, oh, we need $80,000 to fix the skate park.
Sure.
Okay. So could you comment on a realistic, on, you know, what you need to budget annually? I mean, this could turn into quite a regional attraction with a lot of use.
Right.
So could you comment on that with like some real approximate figures?
Yeah, what I'd like to do is for the next meeting is if you want me to present a matrix where the facts come directly from the park and rec directors on how much they're allocating for each one of these, because otherwise, you know, of comparable size, a lot of them have no budget. The skaters actually go and sweep it out because you don't have to mow, fertilize, or irrigate it. If cracks in the shotcrete or in concrete areas, if they start getting bigger than a couple dimes, you know, put together, and you let it go through a season, see if it closes or opens, then it's a epoxy resin which is injected and flat tooled in, and that's about the extent of, you know, the concrete repairs are typically very minimal if it's done right. Some cities have a budget of nothing. Some cities say we got $5,000, you know, a year, and then some recently larger scale parks where they set $30,000 over a 5-year period. So that's more of a higher use county, San Diego, low location, where there might be a little bit more, you know, sizable space.
And Andy, if I may chime in on that, some of the research that I've done prior to this whole thing was reaching out to some of my colleagues that have recently built skate parks, and that's pretty much along the same line. As Mike said, you know, anywhere from $500 to, you know, $2,000 is budgeted for the skate parks, and most of them, and I probably contacted 5 skate parks throughout New England, 5 recreation and parks departments who have skate parks throughout New England, anywhere between the $500 to, you know, $2,000 range.
What I have seen is a lot of the, like you saw in Lake Geneva, and you saw a lot of it happen here in New England. Everybody bought modular ramps, you know, above ground ramp structures, and the big problem is all the screws, the surfacing. If it's steel, even if it's powder coated, it gets, you know.
Well, I know One reason why I know there's a need for a skate park in this town is I'm a school teacher, and I've seen the stairs in our schools be replaced more than once because the stairs have been demolished. They're only made of steel and concrete. And I'm just wondering, so that costs something. And I wasn't so much worried about, temperature, crack developing, but from use.
It's the nosing of the stairs.
Those hard surfaces rubbing against each other over and over. Don't the edges eventually need to be retooled?
Not with how these are protected, like how we have the steel protection on each one of those ledges that you see the kids
so
grinding down.
It's a steel edge, not a concrete edge.
Yes, it's a steel edge, and then also for the stairs, if they don't clear the full set of stairs, they're going to hit the last two, or what they call firecrackering the stairs. Those also have steel protection there. So the yes.
I just want to know if you can tell us how old is the park that you have designed in.
How old are the parks?
How old is the latest park that you have designed?
How old? Like 10, 13 years, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
In how that the.
What happened?
I skated, I don't know if this is an answer.
No, I just want to know how the maintenance and how deterioration have played into a park that you designed 13 years ago, you say?
If you take a park 10 years ago, 13 years ago, the number one problem is they need a bigger park and they need more parks. So let's just take something 10 years ago. If it's Park City, Utah, well, now we need to add a street plaza to the park. You go to certain cities, and I probably did about 98% of all the parks in Arizona, where you might do Tempe, Arizona 1, and then Tempe, Arizona 2, Flagstaff 1, Flagstaff 2, Chandler, Park 1, Park 2. So what we're seeing is not so much a maintenance issue, but a demand issue is what you're going to see. So this Brattleboro Park is, you just can't build one amenity, one court, and say that's good enough. Well, it is if no one uses it, if no one's playing tennis, every single day. But the problem that I have seen in terms of maintenance is not so much the park's falling apart, as much as we got to do, might be looking at another park, another location, doing a spot, a dot, or another, park, or your adjacent towns and cities will start doing. I guarantee after you do this, you'll see 3 or 4 more parks pop up, within a 50-mile radius. Yes.
I've skated in a lot of parks around New England, and I've been to recently the park in South Paris, Maine, which is the first concrete park in New England, and I think it's 20 years old. It was built by California Skate Parks, and it was incredibly clean, almost impeccably clean. The only thing that was really different about it was the style. So the amount of degradation after 20 years was negligible compared to any other structure.
And what's unique is if you look at the amount of use per square foot compared to other recreational amenities in a town or a city, and most cities or towns are saying once they have a skate park, per square foot use, it gets more use than any other amenity that they put in the city. So, and the best thing about it is you don't have to mow, fertilize, or irrigate it, or keep on resurfacing the sport court. Well, if it's smooth, they're using it now. Yes.
Back to the design.
Yeah.
2 questions. What are the different levels of the bowl? How deep? And then also, out of the flow, how much flat area do you have to play skate or stretch or what have you?
To stretch?
Yeah. Do you have any flat area you could just warm up in?
Yeah. This would be, these lines would signify the flat bottom.
Well, I'm speaking outside of the bowl, just once you get to the park and you want to just warm up and play skate, how much flat area do you have that would be outside?
Jeff, I think that's the basketball court.
In between the boxes, right in the front.
Yeah.
Looks fine. Yeah.
And then how deep is the bowl, the different areas?
This is, if you're going down, this is plus 2.5, and then it goes down, let's see, 2.5, 2.5, down to 5, 6, 7, This was only seven here, 5, 7, and then with the extension like 9.
How
But-
high, how big is the stair set?
How what?
How big is the stair set?
Like this was a 5. I think this was a 5 stair. Right here, just 2.5, 3. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, there's pool coping and tile along the back. It's kind of hard to see where you can barely see tile with pool coping along the back. This is, once again, what I want to do is get a reaction from you guys if you want to see for the next meeting like an enclosed bowl concept, or if you want to see more of an organic flow area, or any kind of preference.
Could you just go real quick about the types of rails that are used? Like, I see a flat bar maybe.
Yeah. So the rails here and here.
Yeah, like what type of rail are you?
One was more of a round. One was more of like the 2x4, 2x6, like you saw in that Poplar Bluff.
So like a flatter one.
Yeah. Yep.
Then the other one being round.
Yeah. So more round, flat. It could be whatever you guys want. And then these are just hubba ledges here. This was a big hubba, and because this is coming back this way because this bank snapping up to the ledge going out.
Is there a flat bar up front that little line is?
Yeah, this is a flat bar right here. It's just like 14 inches high coming in here. Yes?
Yeah, I think me personally, I think an open concept bowl is pretty cool. I think that would be good opposed to just having it all separate and closed off. And my concern is just making sure, and you already addressed that, but just making sure there was enough space so that the pockets of the bowl, so things aren't too tight. So you can, carve around the bowl and it just flows good without just totally taking out your knees and being too tight.
Yeah, no. If anything, it's almost too big, from rim to rim.
Okay.
This is really big. I mean, we're at almost 30 feet, 28, 30.
Across?
Yeah, and it's big.
That's good.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So it's more of like an open flow. We're not going for a backyard pool, and we're not going for a big, enclosed, kidney or something. Like literally, one of the bowls I did, if you've seen that Encinitas kidney at the YMCA, Encinitas YMCA, did the big kidney bowl there. I mean, literally that fits in there, but that also goes 10 feet, 10, 11 feet deep.
Can you not change that?
Yeah, that's used good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. The what?
The bowl design.
Yeah.
As a whole.
And just one of the things like working on Charles River with everyone from Andy McDonald to everyone else in our office, just going over meetings and stuff, and in our office in San Diego, across the street from Trans World Skateboarding, and Black Box and everyone else. The thing is that everyone's going for, not that we're going through another trend, is any time you don't have like the one hit wonder where you're going in the depot and there's like one hip. For everyone, it's like anytime you can go hip to hip to hip to whip around to hip out, just anything. So you're just like clack, clack, clack. I mean, we can sit there and slash all day long and do a frontside grind or backside Smith. It's fun, but if you can just sit there, you don't even have to really know how to do airs. You just literally go try and pop your board right off the coping and just fly from hip to hip.
Yes, I think that's great. I mean, I'm liking this design.
Yeah.
That you got going here.
And then this just kind of unique, like over the hip and then up the wall and then land up on the extension or transfer into the bowl. So it's just, you can just ride the park all over and not be like, I'm going to the bowl, I'm going to drop in and, one after another.
Yeah, I think it's just like the idea, and in my opinion, just versatility with everything that's there. Where you have multiple lines, multiple angles you can hit stuff at.
Yeah.
Just with everything, especially given the limited amount of space that we have, just the idea of not having anything that's really limited in terms of throwing you towards a wall, or you can only hit it going southeasterly and that's it.
Right.
Just having as much versatility with all the features. That was my personal, and again, not everyone necessarily shares, but I'm really adamant about, for example, not having a bump pump or whatnot, just because I don't feel like it's a very versatile element. So with the space that we have, just having as much versatility, as much variety and diversity with the elements that we can, hitting from as many directions, as many or many different possibilities as you can.
Yeah, and just
doing that,
I think if I come in with a 3D model just to show you what something like this looks like and maybe a couple variations of some ideas. But for example, you know, this wall right here, this is almost like a china bank with a bench coming out. But instead of having it as flat like St. Cloud or anything, when you're coming here, you can write up and over the bench, or you can here and grind the ledge. You know, if you just want to come here and grind the bench. Or you can get all the way up onto the top of the wall because there's a vertical drop on the backside. You can still, you know, disaster or grind it all the way down. You know, almost like a crescent, just like you know, adaptive. So this is like, does that kind of make sense? So you can 50-50 up and down this crescent and down, and then head down this way or coming back up. If you come back up, you can ride it and tail slide up that, come down, right. Or if you just want to go and hit the bench, hit the skittle, just this manual pad right there. Or you can, you know, we've got enough space where you're free for runs, and you got this nice football field.
Well, that's very similar to the Target Plaza over at Woodward. It's like similar to how.
Mike,
yes.
I think, you know, it's important. You know, we've got some pretty serious skaters in this
Very
room.
serious.
Pretty serious skaters in here, but there's going to be some young guys too.
Right.
And I think the multi-purpose, multi-use of this park is going to be its biggest value.
And Carol brought up a good point. One thing that we tried to do is make it where you're not forced to do anything because you want the next generation to progress through here. So if you're a first-time rider coming in here at elevation 0, you can just go here, go here, go here, and then riding down one of these embankments is 2.5 foot grade difference, which is 5 stair. You can roll up and over, turn around, and you're not going to get lost into a big bowl. You can sit here and ride this like a mini ramp all day if you want, back and forth, or learn how to do your first kind of turns around a corner. But you're not going to get stuck in the bowl. You can literally walk in there, and if you want to sit here and ride this like a half pipe, you can. And that was one of the ideas, that you should be able to just walk around or ride and not get stuck, or be forced to go downstairs, forced to hit a ledge, forced to drop into a bowl.
I just want to kind of echo that and name names a little bit. In Northampton, the bowl is amazing, but if you're not comfortable dropping in, your first drop is 7 feet. Mm-hmm. So as far as like progression, I think there's got to be accessibility for people that are just sort of figuring out how to drop in, and
Do people ride Northampton a lot, or?
That's the closest concrete.
Yeah.
But there's no progression as far as beginners.
Right.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah, and that's I fell fault to that too. Back in the day with some some of the parks, steep, deep, when everyone, it was like the battle of who was going to do the biggest koi pond, and there really wasn't, it was kind of the attitude was like, oh, they'll learn how to do it, give them something that'll scare everybody and teach them how to ride. But then I don't think that really worked, because you look at a lot of those parks from the past, and they're not as well utilized as something like, you go to that Poplar Bluff one, and there's, you got 40, 50, 60 kids there every day, just riding.
What's happened there now is that the scooters have kind of taken over, and then kids that don't know how to drop in are lowered in by their parents.
Right.
So then everyone's kind of like waiting for that to end.
Right.
It's just not integrated.
Right.
Those are really small too, and
yeah.
It's such a tight area.
You saw that Lake Geneva, how that was open flow, so you still had all your bowls, and you still had all the shapes of the kidneys, and love seat and oververt pocket and other things. It was all in there. It just you're not locked in there. You're not forced. Yes.
I think depending on the money that we have and the cost of, in terms of what it's going to be and what we're going to raise, is maybe I was talking about how over in here there's no, there aren't any trees that we need to protect in this particular area. Maybe we could, because this, what you were saying, is about 8,500 or something. Maybe we could slash into this area and put some more beginner features in here, like a low box, a low rail, and utilize this space where we don't have to protect trees, and give more of an introductory area for beginner skaters to hit up in this north section there. Right.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing if you guys want to see what this looks like in 3D, and then another concept with an expansion, getting it up to, the size, getting that extra 1,500, in there. I could do that. Yes?
If we do that, is there any way we could make these handrails a little longer, maybe on the top?
Yeah, so you can skate them on the way out too.
Or,
Yeah, the comment was, just like this ledge that extends back, like you saw on that Lake Geneva where you're skating the flat part of the hubba. So this is skating out, pull some of the rails, out, so you could also hit them as a flat bar, style on the way out. Yes? Okay.
One is if we can kind of have like a flat gap, kind of like at Bristol.
Uh-huh.
They have that flat gap with the manual pad on the side.
Uh-huh.
'Cause I just think that's a really neat feature.
Yeah.
And then if one of the stair sets, since there's two kind of similar ones, so maybe one could be a little bit longer, maybe with a flat in the middle.
Okay.
Or something like that, just to diversify the two
Yeah.
a little bit. Or unless one's like a lot shorter or something.
Do people ride in Bristol a lot?
Yeah, I go down there.
Is that one of your parks too? It's an awesome park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome
Yeah, but it's still a little bit on that borderline of like old school to new school.
Yeah.
When you started using color, just things started
I like the color,
getting changed a little bit.
Sick.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a perfect example where I was the architect, the designer for it. It went out to competitive bid. A local general contractor built it, but then California Skateparks came in and did all the shotcrete, for the construction. So, but it could have been, could have been Tim Payne, could have been Grindline, could have been anyone. It just happened they had the best bid.
Is Team Payne, are they looking at bidding on this one?
We invite them on every
Yeah.
bid. Yeah, we make sure everybody knows, that our parks are out to bid. So it might be totally random, like that Santa Fe, New Mexico Plaza, Grindline's building it. They were the lowest, bidder for the local GC. Or
Where's that going?
Huh?
Where specifically is that going? Is
It's
it
called-
replacing the old?
Yeah, it's replacing the old plaza
the
that had been there for
Thrasher,
20-something
the
years.
Worst park in America?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting, though, for a park that's over 20 years. I think it's over 20 years old. Yeah. Yeah. The ratios were wrong, but the context and the idea, I know the architect who did it, too, Harvey Monroe. And it's kind of unique that he's kind of thinking about this more integrated downtown plaza with the trellis and use of colors, and he just had all the ratios wrong. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of unique.
I think the beginner area is definitely crucial. I mean,
Okay.
because with this town especially, where skateboarding has been outlawed and there hasn't been a facility to really engage in it. I mean, we want more people to get into it. There's a lot of younger girls, younger guys who may have gone into skateboarding, but let's say you're into golf and there's no golf course anywhere and it's illegal to play golf. You're not going to exactly be conducive to getting into golf. Same phenomenon applies to skateboarding. There's a lot more younger people, or people just in general, girls and guys, who would get into skating but haven't because, well, there's simply no outlet or legal facility to do so.
Yeah.
So I love it when new people are getting into skating, young kids at the park. And I think it's the coolest thing, and we want to engender that, and we want to encourage that. And so I think that it's a lot to take into consideration with all the things you have to juggle, but I think it's achievable, certainly, but it's very important. It's imperative.
Yeah, maybe in this area too, we look at doing something that's a little bit more artistic and sculptural.
That'd be super cool, like just some like super weird experimental.
Yeah, like your mustache.
Structures. Yeah, just like build a concrete replica of my face. Like Barry had a connection to these like movable skate art pieces that were just like these shapes, and like. I don't know, like maybe just throw like a wild card.
Yeah, it just might be three moguls, not like the old Sadlands or anything else like that, but something that just, as a beginner, you can just kind of roll over these three, areas, or something more sculptural,
These were literally sculpture pieces that were skatable.
Uh-huh.
They were meant to be heavy steel. Ideally, they were granted to come to town and then they were made here because of circumstances. But they actually got made, and they got unveiled in Virginia where they were fabricated. But it was, I should send you the pictures because we went through a similar process of everybody brainstorming and what would be skatable but also really inviting for people who are passing by. And, so I think that could be doable in that corner.
I mean, what will really help is that when I get these into 3D models and we can look at the views, I'll put people and skaters in there so you can get a sense of real scale. And then I'll bring the sheets out on the big size with the scale ruler so we can actually measure, everything and get a little bit more micro. Because I kind of felt like for tonight we're still at that macro level, still talking about the park, the entrance, the circulation, trying to fit it within the space. And I don't feel like I've given you guys, the time you deserve to really get into showing the profiles of what the rails are going to look like, what type of materials, and more like micro finite details.
That's in 2 weeks, you said?
Yeah, in 2 weeks. Yeah, so 2 weeks from today. Yep, all the 3D models. I can even have it almost in game mode too, if you want, where we can zoom in and we can actually go around the bowl and go. So anywhere you want to go, I can zoom in and we can rotate it right there. As a module. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yes.
So, are movable objects a possibility for this place?
Probably not.
Okay. That's fine.
Or objects that we don't know about,
Okay, all right. But like, I was just thinking, but since Brattleboro is such an artistic place, the whole 3D objects, movable art pieces, would totally. I think that would be a great thing to have not a competition for, but just maybe something.
I mean, maybe something that can get sleeved in and and bolted so it doesn't disappear, or something like that, but could be changed out, interchanged.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I would assume that the community would get that artistic creativity.
Yeah, and then also, these plans, we really can't see how the ledges look, how they're floating. A lot of the more artistic elements, like you saw in Encinitas, how things cantilevered and the color tones, and so I'll try to bring that in a couple of weeks where we can actually look at each critical, hubba, stair, rail, manual pad, how everything's going to go. The beginner area are kind of more sculptural areas, and we can kind of zoom in and look at everything, and then just keep tweaking it from there. But the overall thing is for fundraising and expansion and excitement. We just really got to create a unique story. So I feel like this has got some unique, potential elements, but I still feel we need to add a little bit more artistic flair to it. Not make it corny, but I think we're not quite there. We're still at that utilitarian phase. Our offset. Make sure you miss the spruce tree. Make sure we understand, how this thing's going to drain.
Have you talked to like the River Valley Middle School at all?
No. No.
Is that a step that could?
I'll have to check with Carol, see how that might be injected. Yeah, working with maybe one of the art schools on something, sculptural, for the park or site.
Yeah, there's
River.
an arts committee, and certain those options are wide open at this point.
Yeah.
We've actually met a couple of times with the Town Arts Committee, and they've expressed interest in having a say when we get to that point. Including maybe some local artists as well as some regional kind of concepting, such as the purple color of the Guilford slate, which is real, famous roofing slate, and maybe incorporating some of the
purple
brick. Yeah, if you know the purple slate colors that you see on the roofs around here. It's from the area. It's a regional thing, and also the downtown has so much. These are all old, mill towns. Brattleboro is one, and so a lot of like brick colors and that sort of thing would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is just like a tan and beige, but yeah, maybe some of the color tones we go with more, more so some of the red bricks or the darker, brick tones into some areas.
Would there be any of the structures there that would be feasible to, instead of having the concrete, have like a brick?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, have you had experience using, is it practical anywhere in that scenario, anywhere to use those fundraising type of pavers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely for the
blocks, landscape blocks, and perimeter.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't go all the way to the sidewalk, but yeah, maybe there are certain areas, that can be, peppered with donor bricks, $100 each, sell 1,000, you got $100,000, just like that. Right. So I'll make sure we do something like for donor.
Yep. That would seem to be in this economic region. It seems like we'd be a lot better off taking $50 or $100 from a lot of people.
Right.
And shooting for the $10,000.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think we're done.
So, does anybody have a final question for Mike? So, let's give him a nice round of applause once again.